Ron. Thank you so much for being with me today.
Well, thank you for having me, Veronica.
I'm excited to learn about the books that matter to you.
Well, great. I'm happy to share them.
Would you begin by sharing your earliest memories of reading and of books?
Sure. My earliest memories are from when I'm going to say around 3, 4 years old, where my family members in the Philippines, I was born in New York, but I was raised as a young 3, 4-year-old, 5-year-old boy in the Philippines. And this family took care of me, and they were the ones that had the first influence of books. They showed me movies. They gave me kind of a baseline of how to be a family, and so it was nice that they showed me the story of Mary Poppins, and they read to me every night, and I loved it. They also read, I believe it was Dr. Seuss, and also some books about Philippines, a Philippine character. I remember them talking about it, but I don't remember it fully. But it was the fact that they were reading to me that perked my interest. And in bed, it was comforting listening to the people that were reading to me, and I would just fall asleep. And I would get those books when I'm on my own, and I would try to read them, and they're just a bunch of symbols, right? And I couldn't understand it, and I said one day, they tell me, one day we'll show you how this is. They kind of showed me a little bit of how the R words are, or how the letters are sounding. But other than that, it was more about the experience of having somebody read to me. Yeah, that was the earliest moment. I think it was around, I'm going to say around 5 or 6, when kindergarten, I think I always started to really flourish, where I started to understand the vowels, and also the putting words together. Yeah, it's around 5 or 6 years old, and I was like, oh, look at me, I can do it. And I started progressing. I mean, I was a pretty quick learner when it came to reading. It was nice to have that moment with those people in the Philippines. Yeah.
Do you recall what you felt like when you realized that you could read on your own?
Yes, I remember feeling this elation, and that I accomplished something that's totally new to me, and it felt like I was walking around with my chest out, like look what I could do, and I'm telling whoever I could tell, that I could read, or I know these words. I could read a small passage. Yeah, it was an enlightenment. First time you realize it's an enlightenment, and that was a really neat experience. Looking back on it now, yeah.
Do you recall any of your favorite childhood books?
Around 6 or 7 is, I don't have a lot of, I don't have any memories of anyone reading to me. My mom was a working mom, and I had a stepfather that didn't treat me the right way. And so there's kind of a gap between books for me. It was early elementary with Dr. Seuss, and then the reality of life, of living with a monster, came in. And and it wasn't good. It wasn't a happy home for me. It wasn't until like junior high school is, I could remember the books I'm reading, because now I've got more of a handle on my life, a little bit more than I did when I was in elementary school.
Can you recall a book that mattered to you when you were an adolescent?
Old Man in the Sea is about a boy. Well, it's about an old man who is a fisherman, and he was a pretty good fisherman at one time. And he goes on for 3 months he goes on a dry spell, and he couldn't catch a fish, and all the fishermen were making fun of him. But there's this boy who wants to be a fisherman one day, and looks up to him and believes in him. And he helps him with whatever it is. I think the fisherman's name is Santiago. And the boy was there every step of the way. When he would arrive, would help him carry the nets, the fishing rods, and bring in the supplies, and help him load supplies. And he was, it made it so real, because when reading the book, I'm reading it like I'm the boy. Like I could see the boy and I see, okay, that's me when we're talking about him. But when I'm reading the book and the man is out on sea trying to catch a fish, and when he does catch a fish and he's struggling with it, as I'm reading it, it's me as a boy. I think his name's Manello. I forget his name, but it's me as I'm reading it, watching him, rooting for him. It's a father figure, is how I look at it, because that book really stands out. And the struggle between the fisherman and the fish, a 3-day battle where the marlin is a formidable adversary. He doesn't give up. He's giving the old man a fight for 3 days. The old man's hands are bleeding. The fish is bleeding. The old man, in the evening, while he's trying to battle this fish, at night he'll have dreams of this fish, right, swimming along, because he felt like that is his equal. Right? It's amazing. I'm reading this, and it looks like, I feel like it's me watching and rooting for a father.
How did you see your life in the analogy of the book? How did they fit together?
Through the vision that I have through the boy, as the boy is doing all he can to help the old man, as here I am at home doing all I can so that my stepfather would treat me better, or look at me better, or just not hit me.
And that book was important to you. That book mattered to you as an adolescent.
Yes.
All these years later, does that book
Yes.
still matter to you?
Now I'm the old man, and my son is the boy.
And who is the fish?
The fish is what I'm trying to accomplish.
Why do you think that books matter?
Well, okay, I have to tell you this. This literally happened a year ago. I have 3 wonderful kids, beautiful kids, and I love them so much. My oldest goes to a magnet school. He's getting a B+ average, and I'm very proud of him. I'm surprised, but very proud of him. And he's a really good reader, very fast. And then I have another child who is the Tom Brady, right? She does everything well, right? She's another, I'm very proud of her as well. Can read very quickly and wants to prove it. Dad, watch this, and blah, 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 real quick. Very impressive, but you understand what you read, yes, and we talked about it, and yeah, well, very good. Keep it up, keep it up. And then I have a third child who I absolutely adore. She's like a little mouse. She's so cute and wonderful. And this affected her because of COVID. In kindergarten, the teachers, this is when COVID first hit, we were doing everything virtual. She learned absolutely nothing. And it was so sad, it was breaking me. She was engaged. She was not engaged at all with the screen, with the people behind it. They couldn't control her. She'd always be getting up, and I couldn't control her. It wasn't in a classroom setting. It was in her bedroom. And I tried to watch her, but whatever I did through that virtual learning, it didn't help. Whether I sat there with her or where I coached her, the teachers were not getting through, and it does not work. It does not work. For some kids, but for my daughter, it did not work, and I knew it. There was this instance, there was this moment where I had both children in the same room looking at two different monitors at the same teacher because they're in the same grade. My son, I leave them alone. My son asks me, he has a math question. So I step away and go to another room, and he is on his tablet talking to a teacher, and I'm explaining the math. It took about 5 minutes. When I got back, my daughter was out of her chair, making noise. The teacher's telling me I have to get my daughter under control. I lost it. And I told her on the camera with other children watching, and they could listen. Parents there too. No one said a thing. And I said, this does not work. I leave for 5 minutes and you can't engage my daughter. I leave for 5 minutes to help my son in the other room with math. I come back and you can't get her to sit and engage with you. This does not work. I have COVID. We all have COVID. Literally, I was sick. I was not feeling well. They had COVID, but they didn't feel a thing. But we were all isolated, right? And that learning experience affected my daughter. So now she's in 2nd grade, okay? Last year, I sat there trying to help her read, taking my time, showing her how to read, going through every word. I don't want to rush her. I don't want to push her. And I asked myself, I closed my eyes, I was crying inside. There was a tear because she asked, Daddy, are you crying? Because she saw a little tear. I go, no, it's something, went into my eye. I think it was a bug, that kind of. She goes, okay, Daddy. So, okay, let's continue. And I prayed while I'm reading with her. I was mentally praying, God, please help me. Please help her. This is not her fault. Please help her. The other two are doing great. But this daughter, she couldn't. And so, yes, reading matters. Books matter. More to me now because I went through this with my child. And I want to report today, She's doing great. She won an award, most improved, and she's reading not as fast as the other one, but she's there where I'm very happy. And what more can I expect, except better things to come? Yeah.
What did you see change in her from when she couldn't read and was not a reader, and now she is a reader?
Wow, that's a really good question. Like me, when I was like, hey, I could read this passage, my chest is out, right? Sophia was like, I'm not a good reader in the beginning. I'm not. She's a better reader. That's her pointing to her sister than I. I'm like, baby, you are too. I'm trying to give her, you are too. Trust me, you will get it. Just take your time. Not everyone's going to be, a fast reader or a good reader at first, but you will get it. Just trying to give her confidence. And yeah, now she's out there with like trying to make friends and very confident, and she can walk somewhere and see a billboard and say, Dad, what is this, this, and this? Wow, look at you. Like I'm trying to validate her. So when she was like, Dad, look, what does this say? What does that mean? What is this for? A billboard. And I'm like, look at you. Look at you knowing how to read now. Oh my gosh. And she'd smile and, I kind of give her like my dad's so proud of me, right? So.
Something that I think is so important about the story that you shared is that reading affected her personality. That when she couldn't read or felt that she wasn't a good reader or didn't yet know how to read, it affected not just her school, but it affected her personality. And the way that you describe her now, saying that she's more confident, she's making friends, that's not reading in class, but being able to read and having confidence in her reading has now made her confident in other areas of her life.
That's right.
I think that's a really important connection that you made.
Yes, absolutely. It brings back to my childhood, and then going through this with my kids, right? Makes me understand that reading is important. Makes me more, of course, reading is a gateway, right, to everything that you do in life. But nothing really validates those thoughts until your child goes through something like this. And now I'm so on board with This Book Matters. It's affected my daughter being so behind in reading. I think she was like a year and a half, 2 years behind. And literally in one semester, whoa, just caught up. Yeah, most improved.
What would you say to other parents of children who are struggling with reading?
Very easy. Just I said this before, don't give up. Don't ever give up. Keep reading to them. They will eventually get it. As this wonderful person told me once, everyone doesn't become a butterfly right away. All the caterpillars don't become a butterfly right away. Each one will change at different times. Some are early bloomers, and then there are ones that are going to be the last ones. But at the end of the day, they're all butterflies. So don't give up. Don't give up, because if you give up, then it's game over.
Thank you. Thank you for what you shared.
You're very welcome. And thank you for having me.